So we are going to start us off with a little toast here. And in order to do that toast, we are going to go to one of our favorites. So this is a 12-year-old aged rum from the Dominican Republic. Here we go. Baku. Let's see if I flip that around. Maybe you can see the emblem on the tag a little better. Baku. So it's a little hard to find. It's much easier now than it was about a year and a half, 2 years ago when we just couldn't find it anywhere. We got a taste of the Baku 12 at a rum tasting some years back, probably 3-4 years back, something like that.
Yeah.
And kind of fell in love with it and then wasn't able to find it. And bummer. And after that point, once we finally were able to find it, we pretty much bought like all of the Baku we could find. So I think we have the 5-year, the 8-year, and the 12-year.
Yeah.
And the 12-year is remarkably smooth. Some of the oak characteristics come through. So here's to
our friend.
May
things continue to work out positively. That's good stuff.
That is smooth. It's remarkably smooth. There is the oak and wood really come through on this. 12 years oak casking, yeah, that'll work. The notes you usually associate with rum, like vanilla and some of the Christmas spices, are there, but they're really subdued by that aging. So this is not a rum that's going to overpower you. It's also not a rum that you would want to use in cocktails. This is clearly a sipping rum. The finer points of this are going to be lost in a cocktail. So that's why we're using this as a toasting rum. So yum yum. And you'll note, toasting with a fine rum is not shooting it back. That's sipping a fine rum. All right, so what are we going to do today? So I usually try and do about 3 cocktails. And we're going to try and do exactly, we're going to do 3 separate cocktails, but we are going to do a variation on the third. So we're going to do 2 variations of that cocktail. So we will do a total of 4 cocktails this evening. So the first cocktail that we're going to do is a classic tiki cocktail called the Montego Bay. Now, the Montego Bay is, it is, how to describe the Montego Bay? It has all those elements that you would think would not work. So you've got lime juice in here, and you've got grape juice, and then you're going to throw in some allspice dram. Like, what's going on here? And then we're going to add some Jamaican funk to this. And it's like, what? And then there's a little absinthe, and there's a little Angostura. And so this is one of those recipes that, if you've been following, you know that the original bartenders for tiki drinks way back when, 30s, 40s, early 50s, were highly guarding the secrets of these cocktails and how they were made. And a lot of these were incredibly complicated cocktails with very precise measurements. And so, like with the Montego Bay, we're going to do like 6 drops of absinthe into this cocktail and 1 dash of Angostura. So, I mean, this is a very precise kind of recipe, but I had done a couple of Montego Bays and they were good and I enjoyed them. And I was willing to do the Montego Bay this evening, partially because I did a riff on the Montego Bay that I really like and I want to share with you guys. But just prior to hopping online and setting all of this up and hopping online, I was reading yet another section of yet another Jeff Beachbum Berry book, Sippin' Safari. And here he's talking about how he first got into tiki and his first love of tiki. And he and Brother Cleve ran across a bartender by the name of, and I'm going to have Tony Ramos. And Tony Ramos had been the bartender at, I'm going to have to come back here, at Don the Beachcombers, right? So the original tiki bar, Tony Ramos, was one of the bartenders there.
Is that Gin Fizz, Tony Ramos?
Okay. Now, what's special about this, like, okay, so why are you telling me about the Tony Ramos guy and, and Jeff Beach and all that sort of thing? Well, here's the deal. Jeff Beachbum Berry, when he was starting out trying to track down cocktails and trying to figure out how they were made, because he was seeing the great tiki bars go out of business. He's like, oh no, I'm never going to be able to drink these things again unless I learn how to make them. And so as a consequence, he was trying to hunt down recipes for these. The Montego Bay was one of the very first, in fact, one of the first 3 drinks that Jeff Beachbum Berry ever got the recipe for. And the recipes came from this bartender, Tony Ramos. So, I'm reading this and go, oh, I was planning on doing the Montego Bay, and they're like, great, let me go ahead and share this little bit that the Montego Bay is actually one of the drinks that started Jeff Beachbum Berry down this line of publishing all sorts of wonderful books about tiki and the Caribbean and the history of cocktailing and Polynesian culture, and eventually leading to his opening of Latitude 29 in the French Quarter of New Orleans, and making wonderful, wonderful drinks there. Okay, so.
Brooke asks, as always, what's on fire? And then she left.
Okay, fine. Yes, what's on fire? For all the new folk, right up front here, I have a little bit of incense just to kind of set the mood. Usually I have some tiki music going on in the background. I'm going to let my wife take care of that. But what's going on here, the smoke that is obscuring my face and fortunately not setting off any smoke alarms, is just some incense. So there we go, some incense. And yes, you're going to ask this question every time we do this. That's actually not a bad idea, because there are going to be new people tuning in going, what's with all the smoke? And now there's an answer to it. Okay, so the Montego Bay. The Montego Bay uses a spindle blender, which fortunately we happen to have a spindle blender right here. As a consequence, we're going to start with a blender tin, because that's going to go right there. Okay? All right. So what goes into the Montego Bay? Well, we're going to start with the tried and true, which is some lime juice. And we're going to do some grapefruit juice, and that'll combine to make all of the sour in this drink. Then we're going to use honey syrup. And so honey syrup, which you've seen me use before, this is not honey. This is honey mixed with water. So you warm up some water. You put either equal parts or 2 parts water to 1 part honey, or 2 parts honey to 1 part water, whichever way you want to go, depending on how strong you want your syrup. This latest batch is actually a 1-to-1 batch, so equal parts of honey and water together. But the reason we do that is because if you pour honey directly into these cocktails, it just seizes up and it doesn't mix well. So honey syrup almost always is the better way to go. So there's going to be lime juice, grapefruit juice, honey syrup, an aged Jamaican rum. So you want something that's got some backbone to it. You don't want to get too subtle with it, so you're not going to break out your 21-year-old Jamaican rum here. But we are going to go with a 12-year-old Appleton for this. Then there's some allspice dram, sometimes called Pimento Dram. And that is just a very spicy liqueur. It has all those typical Caribbean spices that you would think about, like allspice and clove and cinnamon and all those sorts of wonderful flavors. It's great to have on hand. You don't use very much of it in cocktails. Even the most aggressive tiki cocktails are using like maybe a 1/2 or 3/4 ounce of allspice dram. But if you happen to have a really high quality, say, vanilla gelato and pour a little allspice dram over it, that is some darn tasty dessert, let me tell you. So it's always good to have some allspice dram on hand. And then we get into the esoteric stuff. We're going to do a single dash of Angostura. We're going to do 6 drops of, the original recipe calls for Pernod. I don't carry Pernod, I just carry absinthe, because why have the substitute when you can have the real stuff, right? So we're going absinthe instead. Then we're going to add some ice. We're going to shove this thing in the spindle blender. We're going to pour it into a glass, and then we're going to drink it all up, and it's going to be yummy. All right, so let's go ahead and get started.
We have a Nancy and Vince.
Nancy and Vince, yay! Okay, cool. All right, so 1/2 ounce lime juice. Yes, I'm going to have to go squeeze some more limes soon-ish, but not right now. Okay, so 1/2 ounce of the lime juice. There we go, 1/2 ounce lime juice. I'm going to cut to the honey syrup and do a ½ ounce of the honey syrup. And I'll give you my reasoning for this in a moment. So when you see drink recipes are not necessarily in the order that you should add ingredients. And my logic on adding the sweet ingredients, especially when you're doing things with syrups that can be kind of thick, is what you'd like to do is do the syrup first or close to first, and then you want to follow up with some sort of sour ingredient, like lime juice or grapefruit juice, to help just clean out the last little dregs of the sweet syrup that's sticking in your jigger. So now we're going to go and we're going to add a ½ ounce of grapefruit juice. Once again, white grapefruit juice. White grapefruit can be a bit of a pain to find, and so can white grapefruit juice, but it makes all the difference in the world using the white. If you use pink grapefruit or like ruby red grapefruit or grapefruit juice, or heaven forbid grapefruit juice that has sugar added to it, it will throw the proportion of your drink completely off. You'll have to cut back on the sweetness in other areas. So you don't want to do that. You want to just go find yourself some white grapefruit juice. You don't have to squeeze your own grapefruit to do this. You know, a jug of some white grapefruit juice is mighty tasty and works great in these cocktails, just unsweetened. Remember,
And Giant is carrying it now.
Oh, good. Good to know. Giant, for those in the local area or those in areas where Giant supermarkets are a thing, Giant is actually stocking white grapefruit juice now. So that's good. It was really hard to find for quite a while. Okay, so now we need the Jamaican rum. And so what are we going to do for the Jamaican rum? We are going to reach for the Appleton Estate. And I could go with the Reserve, which is just sort of the staple Jamaican Appleton rum. But here, I want something with a little age on it. I want something with a little punch. And so I want to go up from the Reserva, because I just don't think it's going to really sing in the Montego Bay. So we're going to go 1.5 ounces. There's 1 ounce. There's a half. Okay. That. Besides the Appleton 12, it's just a really great rum. The Appleton 12 works marvelously in cocktails. It's still not nastily priced. I mean, I think it's maybe 40, somewhere in that realm. But it also makes a fine sipping rum as well. So you're not going to break the bank on that as a sipping rum, and it works just wonderfully well for getting some sense of the Jamaican funk, which I mean, it's just coming off the mixing tin right here, bringing a smile to my face. All right, 1 dash Angostura, which I've now moved things around on my bar. So if I keep going, it's because it's now right here in front of me, so I can't miss it, which means I, of course, will miss it. All right, so the Angostura. So we're going to do a single dash Angostura, 1 dash. And then 6 drops of Pernod, or in this case, absinthe. So I've already poured some absinthe into a sake cup here, and I'm going to go take a medicine dropper and add 6 drops. In case you were wondering, that works out to be about 1/8 of a teaspoon, something like that.
Danchu.
Danchu. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That goes back there. And in case you're wondering, I am using Mount Defiance absinthe. So Mount Defiance is a local distiller, and their absinthe is really, really amazingly good. It's really an old school European absinthe, and I've tasted not a lot of absinthe, 4 or 5, maybe a half dozen absinthes in my time, and for my money, just the potency of the Mount Defiance really comes through. If you want a good absinthe, go pick up some Mount Defiance and help support a local business. So there you go. For those people that are in DC, for those that aren't in DC, get somebody in DC to pick you up a bottle of Mount Defiance. There you go. And visit you later when this whole COVID thing is done and we're traveling again. We do need some allspice dram, and we're going to go with a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice dram. So a tiny itsy bitsy bit of allspice dram. Somewhere in here I have measuring spoon. surprised the number of bar tools that you don't think you're going to need, but eventually will show up and you will need. I didn't think I was going to need measuring spoons. I'm like, everything comes out of the jigger. And then I started seeing recipes. It's like, oh, a quarter ounce of this, or a quarter teaspoon of this, and an eighth of a teaspoon of that. And I'm like, all right, so I'm going to have to go get a set of measuring spoons just for the downstairs bar. And hey, it works. All right, so allspice dram.
So I'm the one that often does cleanup and stuff, and most of the measuring spoons go upstairs. So I got actual, like, a gunmetal gray tinted ones for the bar, so I know these are the bar ones when they come back down here.
So what I'm going to do here is, it's going to be really hard to pour from this bottle into this tiny little spoon. So a little trick, just pour into a jigger. There you go. Sneak your little spoon in there. There we go. There is our, what was it, quarter teaspoon? Yes, quarter teaspoon allspice dram. And then, you know, I still got a little bit of this shot left. So whatever is left of the allspice dram is just going to go in there. That'll mix up. The allspice dram really adds to the baku. Oh, that's special and tasty. All right. Allspice dram. For this, I'm going with the St. Elizabeth's. So St. Elizabeth's allspice dram. I know the lighting in here, you've got a big line right across the. Yeah, I can't. There we go. Maybe that works. So this is relatively easy to find at most liquor stores, at least in the Maryland and Virginia area. Allspice drams are different from one another. They just have different spicings and that sort of thing. I think that this is a little more subtle, which is hard to say about an allspice dram, than, say, Cotton & Reed's allspice dram, which I really, really love, but I think it would take over this drink just a little too much. So I'm going with a little, what I consider a little lighter allspice dram. Okay, so what are we going to do? We've now got some liquid in here. We've got, oh my goodness, I'm not actually plugged in.
Does it go in the headphone jack?
It goes in the headphone jack, yes. Wow. It doesn't have a microphone if you're not actually plugged in to the computer. So
Thanks,
I'm guessing that my voice is going to become much better and easier to understand now. Wow, do I feel stupid? Okay. It's been one of those days. I'm not ready to go back to work tomorrow, but we're going to have to do it. Okay, so liquid in here. We're going to add only about 3 ounces of ice. So I'm going to go about a half scoop of ice here. 1 scoop. There we go. That goes in there. Oh, you know, perfect timing, right? I mean, we get the sound fixed just in time for me to stick this under the blender, right? There we go. All right, so as with most of these sort of tiki drinks, the blend is usually very, very short. You're just trying to aerate this and get a good mix, so it's only about 5 seconds. So we're going to go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're done. Drink is all finished. If I had a paper towel, I would wipe that down. My paper towels are back here. Aside from this one right here. I'll do that. And then this just gets poured straight into a glass like this. It's ungarnished in the classic version of the Montego Bay. And there you go. One classic Montego Bay. I'm going to stick a nose in here. Yeah, the Mount Defiance still comes through, even though there's only 6 drops in here. Oh my. Yeah, I'm kind of liking that.
That's good, but that's more you drink than my drink.
That's the spice element.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so this one tends to prefer the more fruit-forward, sweeter drinks. She grew up on halakihiki drinks, which are, you know, sweet. Let's just say that. And I just prefer a little more spiciness to my cocktail. If we're drinking whiskeys, she's much more likely to drink a bourbon. I'm much more likely to drink a rye. Except when it comes to, like, say, scotches, and then everything gets reversed, and she likes the nastiest, most iodine-y, peaty scotches in the world, and I'm just a wussy little Highland person. So there we go.
I'm a big fan. I like the Montego. I like that spiciness. I like the fruit juices in it. I think I actually, and I've done this cocktail instead of using crushed ice, I've done it using cubed ice and shaken, and I think I actually like it a little better. I think the crushed ice dilutes it just a little bit more than what I would like, but I can see where, say, my lovely wife would drink this and enjoy this, whereas she might not if I just shook it with some cubes and served it over cubed. So there you go. There's a minor change that you could do to the Montego Bay, depending upon what your taste profile is. Okay, so now that we have resolved our sound issues, thank you again, Deneen, for pointing out that, hey, you could use more volume. Hey, maybe you should plug your microphone in. All right, I can't even complain that, I've had a couple of drinks today. Nope, can't do that. Nope, it's been a mostly sober day, right? Yes, yes, I think it is. Yes. Well, okay, so there was a pecan liqueur poured over the waffles this morning, but that's a few hours ago and not really a whole lot of. Well, that's like 22 proof. I mean, it's minor. Okay. So that's your Montego Bay. So what am I going to do to the Montego Bay? Because while this is good and while this is yummy, I've been playing around with some Aperol. And I think, oh, well, maybe, what can I do with the Aperol in this that would help bring out some notes in here and make it, wow, that allspice dram in the Baku really works. I'll just sort of like keep returning to that. But then again, I love allspice dram. Okay, so let's do the next drink up, which is the what I call the sunset over Montego Bay. All right, so what are we going to do here? This is actually a shaken cocktail, so we need a drink shaker. Here's my base drink shaker. And you'll see most of the same ingredients. I'm actually going to do a double here so that we have two of these because I know the wife is going to want one, and, well, I like them too. Okay, so what are we going to do? So we start with, because we're doing a double, we're going to do a full ounce of lime juice. One ounce lime juice. We need to do the honey syrup, which again, same proportions. So this is going to be 1 full ounce of the honey syrup. So these little bears, the little honey bears, they make great dispensers for honey. They're a little less so for the honey syrup because it's a little thinner and they sometimes leak around the edges. But it does allow you, because of the squeezing action, to get a fairly precise measurement on there.
You know what it is.
And I know what it is, exactly. So now we need a full ounce of the grapefruit juice. So I'm going to go over here, grab the grapefruit juice. 1 full ounce. There we go. And now we want 1 ounce, excuse me, we need, it's going to be 3 ounces total. So we're going to do 2 ounces of the Jamaican rum. So that's 2 ounces of the Appleton Estate 12. And as always, I will go ahead and post recipes at the end of this. So there's 2 ounces, Appleton 12. Now, it is sunset over Montego Bay, which means it's the end of the day. You're crashing. It's been a hot day in the sun. It's going to be the end. So we're going to go with something a little more potent. We're going to add 1 more ounce of another Jamaican rum. So this is the blended Smith & Cross out of London. It's Jamaican rum. They bring together a variety of different Jamaican rums to make this. So we have 1 ounce proprietary blend of the Smith & Cross. This is an overproof rum, which signals that this is probably going to be your last drink for the evening. And that goes in there. So 1 ounce of that. So a total of 3 ounces here. So pure pot still, and this is it's Navy strength. It's not hugely overproof, so it is 57% alcohol. So it's 114 proof. So I mean that's hefty. This will send you night night, make you mellow. So that's what we're going to do. All right. So but what happened to the allspice dram and that sort of thing that's going to go in here? Well, all right. Here is where we go off book, and you can't really follow me because I have a little mix here that I call Pooch's mix. There's a variety of different things in here. There is some absinthe, there is some allspice, there's a couple other little things in here. So a little secret ingredient for the home bar, which is always fun because then there's something special about your home bar and the drinks that are here. And we're going to go a full 12 dashes of this. So yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 dashes. Pooch's home mix. Yep. So that works. So now we've got the lime juice, we got the grapefruit juice, we got the honey syrup, we've got the Jamaican rum, we've got the Smith & Cross overproof, we've got the secret ingredient in here. We are all ready to go. We're going to add some ice cubes to this, and we're going to shake the bejesus out of it. So here we go. I have the glasses here. In fact, what I don't have is my scoop. Donna, hey! It's always kind of surprising who shows up for these things. Always happy to see, well, pretty much that anybody is actually willing to show up for these. So, you know, there we go. All right, so throwing a bunch of ice cubes in here. We're going to lid this up, shake it. That. All right, we want that good and cold. And then we're going to grab a couple of these wonderful little bamboo glasses, black bamboo stemware glasses. We're going to put some crushed ice in each one of those, and we're going to strain the liqueur over that, the spirits over that. So crushed ice. Crushed ice. Now, some of you have been paying attention and saying, started this, didn't you say you were going to put Aperol in your cocktail? I did. Hold your horses. All right, so I need one Hawthorne strainer, right? It's the spring strainer. So we're going to just pour in here. Note the slightly different color. It's not quite as dark, right? So here is your Montego Bay. Here is the base drink for the sunset over Montego Bay. And you're like, what, that doesn't look like a sunset? What are you doing here? That's where the Aperol comes in. So Aperol is an Italian aperitif. It's orange flavored. It is similar to Campari, but much, much less sour and bitter. Campari, I often think of Campari not so much as orange as almost a bitter grapefruit, whereas the Aperol is definitely orange. So what we're going to do here is we are going to take and just pour some Aperol over the top of these. And this is about an ounce of Aperol. There we go. So looky there. All right, so you get this nice sort of orange and reddish color. And then, because it's a sunset, you got to have a sun. So we're going to take a dried orange wheel and just stick that there. And there you go. There is sunset over Montego Bay. And this one's going to the wife. And this one's going to me. Because, yum. There we go.
Oh, that's good. I like that one a lot better. It still has all the spice, but it's got a little more sweetness to bring it up and even it out a little bit. Cheers.
Cheers. And there you go. You've managed to follow me along on taking a classic tiki cocktail that is very spicy. Not spicy hot, but spicy in terms of the Caribbean spice mix, like allspice, and change it up into this very, very pretty little sunsetty drink. It could almost be a boat drink or something along those lines, but it's not quite that sweet. The Jamaican rum really adds a funk to it. I don't think you could do this. Well, I mean, certainly you could do this with like a Puerto Rican rum or something, or a Trinidad rum, something column still. But you're going to lose so much of just the high ester, funky notes of the rum here. So really, I mean, I think playing up the funk of this with the 12-year Appleton was a really good idea. So it looks like there might be a question.
Are all citruses sours, or is orange considered a sweet?
So neither. How's that? At least in my book, the way I treat it is I don't think orange has got enough sour in it to really form that sour component for cocktails. And if you're thinking in terms of the usual like a mnemonic for punch, which once again I will have my wife, have my technical assistant come over here and show you the mnemonic for a rum punch. There you go. So 1 part sour, 2 parts sweet, 3 parts strong, and 4 part weak. While classically you might consider orange juice in the sour component, I don't. I consider it part of the weak. To me, the orange juice just doesn't have enough oomph to it to really qualify in any other ingredient. Now, if you are using, say, a store-bought orange juice, and that store-bought orange juice has added sugar, then in that case, yeah, it might qualify as a sweet here. But here we just have, I'm not really sure. So this is one of those wonderful kismet things. I'm not really sure why this is all coming together, because Aperol is certainly not sweet. Maybe it's just I don't know. It just works. Sometimes you are just, you need more of that?
Yeah.
It's like, I think there was more in that shaker, Mr. Pooch. Why, yes, there was. You okay with not adding any more Aperol? Okay.
We've got a Colleen, and we've got a Dana.
Oh, excellent. Dana tuning in from the West Coast. Say hi to Dana and say hi to Russ, who's out there as well. Sometimes things just work out, and this is one of those cases that it works out. Now, I should point out, so Montego Bay, we made the Montego Bay with the Appleton 12-year. The Appleton 12-year clocks in at 43% alcohol, 86 proof, and there's 1.5 ounces of that in here. So there's 1.5 ounces of alcohol in here. 1 ounce of that is 43% alcohol. The other is 57% alcohol, and then we added Aperol on top of that. You're like, oh my gosh, dude, you're adding even more alcohol to this? Relax. The Aperol is like 11%, I think. Yes, hey, called it. It's 11%, 22 proof. So while yes, there's a little more alcohol in this because of the Aperol, really the overload on the alcohol is coming from the not the Ray and Nephew, sorry, the Smith and Cross. But let me tell you, the Smith and Cross provides just a backbone to this drink that the Montego Bay, I think, is missing. So it might be interesting to make the Montego Bay and use the same split. Do a full ounce of the Appleton 12 and a half ounce of the Smith and Cross, and see if that that works out well. I was a little afraid that there is more allspice dram in this, and so I was a little afraid that the allspice dram and the Smith and Cross would go to war in the Montego Bay, and so I wanted to avoid that. They're both really good. I gotta say, I think the Sunset over Montego Bay is for my money. I'd rather drink this. All right. So Sunset over Montego Bay. So daytime Montego Bay. Wow, it's kind of brownish. Maybe there's pollution in the Montego Bay. I don't know. And then we have the Sunset. There we go. The Sunset also is part of what might be happening with it doesn't taste quite as sour, is because we're pouring it over the crushed ice. It's a much colder drink than the Montego Bay. There's much more ice in that. After being shaken and then poured over crushed ice, yeah, that's a much colder drink, which is going to tend to tamp down some of the worst of the sour notes that are there. But yeah, wait, I can't get away from this. This is yummy. I want some more of this. Okay, so what do you think? Montego Bay, Sunset over Montego Bay. We've got one basic cocktail left, and this is, you can't really call it a traditional tiki cocktail because it didn't come into being until 1978. So it came into being almost ironically at the height of when American cocktails were kind of at their worst. So in the mid to late 70s, cocktails were being made mostly from mixes, or they were, things like Sex on the Beach, the Buttery Nipple, the Harvey Wallbanger, things like this, which either shot drinks or drinks that just really tended to be on the kind of overly sweet side. It's not to say that they're not tasty, but they're a little out of balance, let's just say. So in 1978, at the Kuala Lumpur Hilton, the bartenders there mixed up a drink which became part of the craft cocktail renaissance once it finally filtered its way over to the United States. And that drink is known as the Jungle Bird. So you don't tend to find the Jungle Bird listed in any of your classic tiki books because those classic tiki books are doing drinks long before 1978. But it is a staple now on most of the tiki menus out there. The other nice thing about it is that because it has some craft cocktail cred to it, you don't have to be in a tiki bar to order a Jungle Bird most of the time. So you can kind of flaunt your tiki cred in a normal craft cocktail bar by ordering a Jungle Bird, and most of the time they can do it. Probably the big ingredient that they might have some trouble with is pineapple juice, but come on, if you're a bar, you should have some pineapple juice on hand, right? So, okay. So what are we going to do, and how are we going to do the Jungle Bird? So the Jungle Bird can be done as either a blended drink or as a shaken drink. I kind of prefer it a little more as a shaken drink, but I'm going to go ahead and do the blended drinks tonight. And we're going to do two different versions. So the first version is the classic Jungle Bird. And the classic Jungle Bird uses another aperitif. So this is the Campari that I was talking about earlier. Is it Campari? Campari is one of the primary ingredients in the Negroni, which is and one of those amazing drinks. But this is a bit of an acquired taste. It's very pretty, the red color, but it's bitter. It's a little like chewing on some grapefruit rind. That's, if that's kind of how I describe it. And if you go, oh my God, why would I ever drink that? Well, it's understandable, but in the Negroni or in something like a Jungle Bird, the Campari really, really sings. And so we're going to be using Campari for one of the Jungle Birds. My wife doesn't like Campari, so she doesn't order Jungle Birds because they're made with Campari. She would never in her life order a Negroni unless she was bringing it back to the table for me. So we're not going to be using Campari for her Jungle Bird. We're going to be using, guess what? That's right, we're going to use the Aperol for her Jungle Bird. And the flavors are similar, but the Aperol just takes some of the aggressiveness out from the Campari. And she really, really likes an Aperol Jungle Bird, which, you know, I think that's perfectly fine. Most of the bars that are going to have Campari are going to have some Aperol on hand, and it's summer. Aperol is everywhere in the summer. Last year in particular, I don't know what happened. Advertising campaign from out of the woodwork came out, and everybody and their brother was drinking Aperol spritzes. So,
and then we went to Italy, and
right.
It was even more so. And
yeah,
I thought it was
going to get away from the Aperol spritz when I was in Italy, and nope. So what I ended up doing is every time she ordered an Aperol spritz, I ordered a Campari spritz, right? Because, you know, I'm a bitter, disgusted old man, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. My, this Montego Bay is yummy. You're going to take my sunset over Montego Bay away?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Then I'm going to have another drink.
I could leave it for you. But I want you to make a Jungle Bird.
I'm going to make two. I'm going to make one just for you, in fact.
Excellent.
All right. So we're going to blend these drinks. I have...
you have Amanda.
Amanda and Jennifer?
Amanda.
Oh, different Amanda. Oh, excellent. So 2 blender tins, and we are going to move on and make the Jungle Bird. So the Jungle Bird, like I said, Kuala Lumpur Hilton, 1978. Boom, goes around the world, and Jungle Birds are drunk on every continent. Okay, if I were going to Antarctica, I'd probably bring the ingredients to make a Jungle Bird, because that would just be amazingly amusing to be sitting in Antarctica drinking a Jungle Bird and thinking of warmer climates, because that's what you want to do when you're there. All right.
He does say Campari is an acquired taste.
Yes, Campari is definitely an acquired taste. I've acquired it. One of my friends in in Kansas City, Lindsay, and her husband Dan, when they were getting married, were crafting various cocktails to try and figure out what they wanted to serve. And I believe while we were sitting around doing that, Lindsay was sipping on a Campari over ice. And I was just like, all right, good on you. Give me a Jungle Bird. All right. So, like I said, it does require pineapple juice, which might be the hard thing to find in some bars. But in this case, once again, we are not going and squeezing our own or juicing our own pineapples every week. And you'll notice that most bars don't do that as well. Dole cans of pineapple juice work amazingly well. It's unsweetened. Again, make sure you get unsweetened pineapple juice when you're making these cocktails. Otherwise, it's just going to throw off the sweetness of the cocktail. I should shake this. Pineapple juice does tend to separate a little bit, so shaking it's a good idea. All right, this is a very pineapple forward drink. There's 2 full ounces of pineapple juice in each one. There's some minor variations on the Jungle Bird, and I should point out that this recipe is taken from Martin Cate's book, Smuggler's Cove. So this is kind of how they do it at the bar in San Francisco, Smuggler's Cove. We need a 1/2 ounce of lime juice. What did I do with my lime juice? Right in front of me. All right, 1/2 ounce lime juice. Stop. Hold up. Follow my own instructions. I'm going to be putting syrup in here, and the syrup that I'm going to be putting in here is a Demerara syrup, so it's made from Demerara sugar and water made into a simple syrup. It's pretty thick, so I'm going to want to put that in my jigger first and then clean that out with the lime juice. So I need 1/2 ounce of Demerara syrup, and that is back here. You're like, well, so how is that different from a simple syrup where I just use white sugar? If you're making a simple syrup using white sugar and water, even at a 2-to-1 mix, if you get anything that looks that dark, you've burnt your sugar and you're working on caramel at that point. This is Demerara sugar in a 2-to-1 mix with water. It's a dark sugar. It's more natural. It's closer to the cane sugar. It is less processed, is what I'm trying to say, right? Less processed. It's more like brown sugar. It's not nearly as fine. You know those little packets of natural sugar or turbinado sugar? It's much more akin to those. You can get it at any mega supermarket. Go to the various sugars aisle, and almost certainly it'll be there. If you don't see something marked Demerara sugar, turbinado would work, or natural sugar in a pinch will work as well.
So right. Nancy is actually enjoying a Negroni right now, but she does add a little Cointreau to make it more palatable.
A little Cointreau, so a little orange liqueur that's on the sweeter side, right? Okay, that'll work.
She tried an apple Negroni.
Could do that. All right, so here we're going a ½ ounce of the syrup, and I'm not sure if you can see this or not. We're going to pour it slowly. Yeah, see how thick that is? Yeah, that is not going to come entirely out of the jigger. So then we're going to do the ½ ounce of lime juice. Clean that jigger out. Then we're going to do the same for the other one. ½ ounce Demerara syrup. And does anybody know where Demerara sugar gets its name? Hint, there's an entire classification of rums called Demerara rums. So if you know where the Demerara rum gets its name, you probably know where Demerara sugar gets its name. Anybody?
Wait for the lag.
I'm going to wait. As long as I'm having to wait for a lag, though, I'm going to sip a little more rum. So we've got some sweet, we've got some sour in there. Now we're going to do the Campari. I'm going to go 3/4 of an ounce of Campari on the left, and then we're going to go 3/4 of an ounce of Aperol on the right. So 3/4 ounce Campari. There you go, 3/4 ounce Campari. I'm not going to be all that fired up about making sure that all the Campari gets out of that jigger, because I think a little Campari is good for my wife. So there we go. There's a tiny little bit of Campari at the bottom of this. I'm slowly weaning her over. 3/4 of an ounce of the Aperol goes into the other jungle bird. So as we all know, jungle birds, or birds from the jungle, come with different colored plumage. So it makes sense that you could make jungle birds that are slightly different colors, right? So there you go, Aperol, Campari. All right, now we need a rum for this. The Smuggler's Cove recipe calls for a blended black rum, so a darkened rum to get the colors right, to intensify the colors. Tends to be a little on the sweeter side. You could use something like maybe Myers is dark enough. I wouldn't use Gosling's. Just because Gosling's sometimes has, and Nancy and I have discussed this, Gosling's can sometimes have a little oily flavor to it that you might not want, or as we were discussing, petrol flavored, which is maybe not a thing you want in your cocktails. So as a consequence, what we're going to do is go with one of the black blended rums that is actually recommended from Smuggler's Cove, and that is the Pampero Anniversario. Now, you'll note that I'm a little light on my Pampero Anniversario, so we're going to see how we do here. I need 1.5 ounces for each of these. So here we go. We're going to go 1 ounce, and then we're going to go 1/2 ounce. Ta-da. And then we need another 1.5 ounces. Oh no! Whatever shall we do? There's 1 ounce. That goes in there.
Luckily, his wife does his magic shopping for him, and this is tasty. The one that comes in the little
leather pouch. So I should point out, leather pouch. It comes with a bonus cat toy. Yeah, see that little. Yeah, cats love this thing. Be careful. Because of that bonus cat toy, if you have that rum on the lower shelf of your rum cabinet and your cat can get to it, they will sometimes pull the bottle over because it's in this cute little leather pouch that has a cat toy attached to it. Not that this has ever happened to us ever in the past around this house. No, never. Emo. All right. Yes, I did something that you would see no professional bartender do, and you should run and hide if you see a professional bartender doing it. I did put the full ounce in here, right? I put the full ounce in, so I'm only going with a half ounce, right? Okay, just double checking. So A, the professional bartenders are smoother than I am, and they would never get in a situation of going, wait, did I have that? You know, even when they're dealing with like 30 or 40 people at the bar, not today, sometime later when COVID is over. But the thing I was actually referring to, so ounce and a half, is the spilling of the rum on their fingers. Now, bartenders do that all the time. What they don't do, because health ordinances, is do this. But this is really good rum, so I'm going to do that anyway. So, and then I'm going to wash my hands. Yep, there we go. All right, yum.
So Nancy posted her little cat smiley face for the cat toy. We also have
The other thing
Kristen Snelling has joined us.
If for those of you that are gamers and you have like lots and lots of dice, this is so much better than a Crown Royal bag because everybody's got Crown Royal bags. It's just like common to store dice in Crown Royal bags. This is an actual leather bag that has like a decent rum logo imprinted on the bag. Keep your dice in these guys. It makes you special, all right? Okay.
And you might meet other rum.
You'll meet other rum aficionados if you do that because they'll go, wait, I recognize that. We have an answer.
Demerara sugar was originally from Guyana.
Yes.
She cheated.
And why is it called?
Yeah.
Why is it called Demerara? If it's from Guyana, wouldn't it be called Guyanese sugar?
She cheated on her answer. So.
There's a great big river that runs through the middle of Guyana. It's called the Demerara River, and that's where it comes from. All right, so there you go. Yes, Guyana has a great big river running through it called the Demerara River, and that's where we get Demerara sugar, because Guyana was one of the major players in sugar production in the Caribbean. Okay. Caribbean and South America. Yeah, the Montego Bay still holds up, even if it gets watered down, and that's because of that spice. But you still want to drink it kind of quickly. The same way you want... like if you make a Manhattan with rye and you get that spicy notes of it, you really don't want that to get too cold or diluted, which is why you don't serve a Manhattan over rocks. What the heck, Demerara is the name of a river in Guyana? Why, yes it is.
You could see me stealing the Baku on screen.
Could we see her stealing the Baku? Yes, we could see her. She's got...
What is the name?
She's got 80 different rums over here that she could choose from. But no, what does she do? She comes up here and steals the Baku. It's that good.
What is the name of the rum again?
The rum itself is Pimento Anniversario. Pimento Anniversario. There we go. It is. It is one of the ones where there's no way they get this color from aging. Otherwise, this rum would be massively expensive. So clearly there is caramel coloring added to this. It's sweet enough to where I'm sure there is added sugar to this rum as well. But it's still a damn fine rum. Once again, drink what you like, but know what you're drinking. And in this case, I know I'm drinking a rum that has some caramel and some sugar added to it. And I don't care. I like it. So we're going to use that. Okay, so now we have these two shakers. We're going to add a bunch of ice. So Smuggler's Cove says 12 ounces of ice added to these guys, crushed ice, and a couple of large cubes just as agitator cubes. I gotta think that that's going to do awful things to my poor jungle bird in terms of the amount of dilution. So I'm not going to go a full 12 ounces because that's like a couple of scoops of ice in these guys. All respect to Martin Kate, I don't want my drink diluted quite that much. Okay, so here we go.
It's also a drink that people have heard of, so it's often a first.
It's a great big heaping scoop of ice for that one. Heaping scoop for that one. Then we're going to add some cubes And here I am in absolute agreement with Mr. Kate. Adding just a few larger cubes helps really agitate this and make it just make your blending process work a little better. And then I'm going to add like a half scoop back in on top. Half scoop. Little behind the scenes magic. Lest you think that I just have this never ending supply of crushed ice, I actually spend, 10 minutes or so before these things get started crushing all my ice, throwing it into a foam cooler here so that I've got some crushed ice to make these drinks. So that's behind the scenes magic, just having it on hand. If I'm doing a party or something, I'll do like this whole this whole foam insulated package back here with crushed ice because I know I will use it. And chances are my back bar, whoever is doing back bar work for me, is going to have to crush some ice in my ice crusher just because we go through that much crushed ice. All right, so again, like I said, with the Montego Bay, most tiki drinks are just flash blends. So we're going to do 5 seconds. So this goes here. 1001, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Wipe off your spindle. And then this gets poured into a bird glass, right? So look at this. So Jungle Bird goes in a bird glass. This is generally, so the instructions from Smuggler's Cove say open pour with gated finish. So what does that mean? So that means you're just going to do an open pour. You're going to pour from here directly in here. You're going to get about 3/4 of the way up. And you may have too much ice in here to overflow the mug. So then you're going to slap a strainer on here and then pour the rest of the drink in, holding back ice so it doesn't overflow. These are ginormous bird mugs. I don't think I'm going to have any problem. So here we go. Not a problem. We're pretty close though. All right, what are we going to do for a garnish? So I'm just going to take a little bit of lime. I'm going to snack that on the side here. And then I've got a couple of fronds that I've taken off of a banana flower. What is a banana flower? It's the flower off a banana tree, right? They look kind of like this. Not sure if you can see that. They look kind of like this. I get them from the Asian market all the time. They just add a really nice color to the cocktails. I'm going to throw just a tiny little bit of some mint here that I have, just to put some mint in on the top.
Shout out to Dimitri for plenty of mint.
Yeah, so the guys doing the renovations on the house next door also happened to have a ton of mint, and so we ran into them and said, hey, you know all that mint you've got that's growing like a weed? Yeah, if you were to drop a little of that off by us, it'd be great. We could do that. So this is the Campari Jungle Bird. So that's on there. Star is sitting down, not going for this one because she knows it's got Campari in it. Now this, I gotta say, I should not have garnished this to start with because now this has been sitting here and diluting just a little further. Once again, not a professional bartender. I'm just having fun here. Besides, the wife has already had enough. So if it dilutes a little bit more, we're good. It's fine. So we're going to do 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Paper towel. There's something in there. Oh, so this is one of the problems of using a foam cooler, is because when you pull ice cubes out using tongs, which I sometimes do, occasionally you will get small pieces of foam cooler on your tongs. I try to keep that from happening. This is all home stuff. Okay. Second,
Not a professional
bartender, right? Second bird mug This is actually the older of the two bird mugs. This is relatively new. This one,
The yellow one you got from your mommy.
yes, my mom bought me this one. This we have had for ages. I have no idea. It's got an imprint on the bottom here, but it's really hard to see. So we're going to just pour this. Oh, look at that. Right in there. Can't fool her. This is her drink. She's coming right for it. We're going to do a little lime on the side. These guys. So the other nice thing about the banana flowers is that they don't take up nearly as much space as, say, a pineapple does. And normally you would see things like people using the pineapple fronds for a garnish for something like this. But here I can use the banana flower fronds instead and not have them take up a great deal of room in my fridge. All I do with my, the mint is wilting a little bit. All I do for my banana flower is I cut a little bit off the bottom and then I stick it in a glass of water or ice water, and it'll keep for at least a few days. Gives me some garnish to work with for those days. We're going to need straws. Once again, glass bamboo straws, because these things are cool. I'm gonna go in there.
Smith Sips. I'll put it in the chat again. They did do a pride straw.
Yeah.
Little straw with a little pride flag on it, which we'll be ordering some.
Will be? We haven't already?
No, we haven't already. Because I thought I might win them in their contest.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to see if I won them first.
Fair enough.
So.
There you go. Look at that. Isn't that cute? All right, little greenery coming off the top. I got our yellow jungle bird. We got our blue jungle bird. Do you want to taste the Campari jungle bird?
Sure.
So, important point.
Not as yummy.
Yeah, yummy. Wait, don't I get to taste the Aperol one? You got to taste my sunset over Montego Bay.
I did.
Yeah, they're different drinks. I can see where she would like the Aperol better. I like the bite of the Campari in this. The Aperol one, I think, is fine, and maybe I let it dilute just a little too much for my taste. So I'm happier with the Campari one. But here you go. So you've got two bitter aperitifs. One Campari, very bitter. One Aperol, not quite as bitter. You do the exact same drink. You just swap out the aperitif, and you get a very different flavor profile that might appeal to somebody that maybe doesn't like the absolute bitterness of the Campari. Now, could you go more bitter than this? Absolutely. So I would not take something like, the Amaro Montenegro or the Sfumato or, heaven forbid, Fernet Branca and do a full 3/4 ounce of that in this cocktail. I think it would obliterate the cocktail. It's all you would taste. But if you wanted to take the Campari or the Aperol and mix it, say, half and half with a little more aggressive Amaro, then I think that would work just fine, assuming you want a somewhat more bitter cocktail than even the standard Jungle Bird. But this is quite tasty. If you like Negronis, your chances are you're going to really like the Jungle Bird. It is one of those drinks that's just really nicely balanced in that as you sip it, you don't go, oh, there's the rum. Oh, there's the pineapple. Oh, there's the Campari. It all just melds together into just a nice sort of singular flavor, and it just sits there and hangs out, and it's just really, really nice. But I still have a Montego Bay that I need to drink here, so I'm going to put some attention into that. Other point, when making these kinds of cocktails, anytime you're doing a cocktail that has crushed ice in it and you're leaving that crushed ice in the cocktail, or you're pouring over crushed ice, If you use a small straw, one of the standard diameter straws, it's really easy for the straw to get plugged up with the ice. And that's really frustrating as you're trying to get some of this really yummy beverage and all you have is a clogged straw. So it's worth it to invest in getting some straws that have a slightly wider diameter on them so that they will go into the crushed ice and they will allow some of the crushed ice to come up with the drink, and they won't clog nearly as well, as much.
Surfside Sips.
Surfside Sips. Star has already posted a link to that in the notes here in the comments. So they make a wider straw. For those of you that are willing to still buy plastic straws, they do make sort of jumbo, big diameter plastic straws, which I have. They're just in the cupboard down here. So there you go, an Aperol Jungle Bird, a Campari Jungle Bird, the Montego Bay, and the Sunset over Montego Bay. And there you go. There's Quarantiki number 12 from Lovecraft Cocktails. I hope you've had as good a time as I have. I have to turn around and start cleaning this mess up, but if there's any questions, I'm certainly willing to answer them. I have plenty of drink sitting in front of me, so fire away at the questions and let me see what I can do. I'm not sure there's so the wife has suggested that we also tikify a kamikaze. I'm not sure there's enough in a kamikaze to actually tikify. That's a profoundly unbalanced little drink that should be shot more than shot as in shot, not shot as in bang bang. It is Star's birthday drink. She loves kamikazes. They're definitely sour.
You got a Lindsay.
There is a sort of infamous story amongst those that know Star of the bowling birthday party, where her rule was if you showed up for her birthday party, you had to buy her a kamikaze. And I think we had almost 24 people show up for that. And it was a bowling alley, so whatever the quality of the watered down kamikaze was. But Star's bowling scores started out about here. And then as more and more kamikazes got into her, her scores started going up and up and up. And then exactly like the COVID virus isn't doing, they went poof. She hit some plateau and her skill and ability to roll a bowling ball down the alley was, let's say, severely impaired. She didn't roll it down backwards or anything, but yeah, so that was much fun. Much fun. That'll do it. We're out for another week. Have a good one. Hope you enjoyed the 4th of July, and let's have a good week, because we need a good week. Let's do that. All right. Talk to you later. Bye-byes.